Okay, we'll wait just a few seconds. So, yeah, if anyone's joining us, I don't know if I pronounced that right, but to anyone joining us at this moment, Debbie's gonna be so kind to share her second ayahuasca journey with us. It is your second ayahuasca journey, correct?
Yeah, correct.
Debbie Gleason, she's a therapist. She's been a guest so many times I don't remember, right? Maybe at least 6 times, I want to say, right?
I'm out there. Yep.
Yeah, we did a couple lives, we did a few interviews. So this is gonna be episode 176. I actually did 175 this morning, but I haven't posted it. So we're jumping a little ahead, right? I'll probably schedule it for later on tonight or something. But and that's gonna be with psychic medium Banner. Barbara Banner, right? So we had an amazing conversation. But back to what we're talking about today. Um, Debbie shared already, so I'll definitely put a link to the first ayahuasca journey, right? I've been asked even recently, right? I was asked about sharing how I came to open up my gifts more. And this is definitely one of those ways, right? For those not familiar with the plant medicines, it's a great tool that was used by our ancestors, right? It's been used for thousands of years. The plant medicine that connects you directly to, like, it's almost like being plugged into the network of everything, right? Of the universe, the earth, everything just gets boom. Like you're literally plugged in and it starts getting downloaded. A lot of times it is just about your personal journey, right? Things you need to do
Mhm.
that'll help you awaken
Yeah.
and become more open to these things, right? Um, but a lot of times, yeah, it'll take you into, the universe, into the connection to everything, right? The planets, the movement of the ocean, the sand, everything, right? You begin to become aware of being connected to everything. I know I'm talking a lot. First, welcome, Debbie. Thank you so much for being here with me. It's an honor as always, right?
Thank you.
I think that's why I just started boo 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 because I'm used to talking to you
Yeah.
already. So we kind of hop right into it. But also, before we get into your story, I know you're doing an event that's coming up really soon. So I wanted to share that. Let me share the flyer, right? So if anybody is where in Alabama are you again?
Mobile, Alabama.
Mobile, Alabama. So I don't know why that accent came out. I know now you guys talk over there, but yeah, so excuse my little
Uh-huh.
Mobile, Alabama. So, okay. So here's the event, right?
Uh-huh.
It's a somatic movement and community sound bath,
Uh-huh.
November 23rd at 5 p.m. And the price is $20, right?
Correct.
Which isn't bad at all. I've been to, a few sound baths, so that's very reasonable. Um, and it's both then, right? It's the somatic movement and the
So,
sound bath?
yeah. So the girls I'm doing this with, we were just discussing. This is more like a workshop, and we're offering it for $20. And so
Mm.
getting a lot of healing done in this one evening with the movement and then the sound bath. And so we've got in this picture you're showing, there's three practitioners for the sound bath healing. And we are actually going to have another guest as well. She's just going to kind of step in, but she uses other instruments, so like an ocean drum, I think, or a flute. So she's got other things. So it's going to be a whole like sound healing after the somatic.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yep.
Um, and we did a live on your IG
Mhm.
this past week, and we talked about movement and the benefits of it, right? But we'll talk about that after.
Yep.
But yeah, I just wanted to make sure we share that, right? Because it is coming up November 23rd, so people have uh a chance still to buy tickets, right? Especially if they're watching this now. So yeah, let's go ahead and go. I mean, I don't know if you want to recap a little bit about your journey, and if anyone has also experienced plant medicine, right? If you want to hop in the chat or leave a comment to let us know your experience, that'd be beautiful, right? I always love to hear about others' experiences. But I don't know if you want to recap a little bit about or I could just put a link to your first journey, right? But you can also share about if it did expand on anything from your first journey, or you could just share about, what this experience was like. So yeah,
Mhm.
the floor is yours by all means.
Thanks. Um, There were definitely some like connections, like some connecting pieces from the first one. But I'll just kind of go into it and then we can kind of pick up. I'll like describe what the connections were as it's coming up. But I think one of the interesting things when you kind of sign up for ayahuasca or even any other kind of plant medicine, when you make the choice that like I want to work with you, whether that's like mushroom, another plant, or ayahuasca, there's this idea, and I have felt it very much. I didn't know about it beforehand, but it's such a feeling where you like, as soon as you decide, the medicine already starts to connect with you in some way.
Mm,
So even before you ingest it, I have heard this countless times and like in different ways. I'm not sure if everybody experiences it the same way or if maybe they're not as aware of it. But for me, in that first ceremony, I mean, I remember hearing, like intuitively hearing the medicine give me direction as the facilitator was going around and pouring the medicine.
mm,
So I hadn't even taken it, she hadn't even gotten to me, and the medicine was already like kind of giving me instruction.
mm.
And so the I think that's a really key piece that I will mention because I also think it's something to consider throughout life is the medicine said stop thinking, start feeling. And
Absolutely. Yeah.
so in the second ceremony, when I say like it starts to work with you, I think I was more aware of it as I was traveling. Like, I mean, maybe I wasn't even that like not on a conscious level, like I knew something was happening, but I didn't really put two and two together until I was in the ceremony and was like, oh, I see. But what happened, I'll just briefly describe leading up to the ceremony. Again, like the first one, I only signed up for one night. And I was okay with this because the first time I had no problem connecting. So I was just like, well, it's going to be fine. Like my body knows what it's doing. It's going to be okay. Well, my flight was kind of a tight squeeze between my childcare drop off at school and things like that. So there were all these like little pieces, but I was trusting so much that like this was divine timing, that this was aligned. And I was like, it's going to be fine,
Mm,
only to find out it was not. And I go to the airport and there's all these little things happening. So like the parking lot was full. I had to go park down somewhere else. It was in New Orleans, so I'm not very familiar with those roads.
mm,
I had to go figure that out, take a shuttle, all these things. Get to the check-in counter, the computers were down. Like all these things were happening, and but I'm still like in this feeling of like it's gonna be fine, it's gonna be a miracle, like it's gonna be okay, like I'll just get a pass, they'll let me walk through security. I was just like, I just felt like golden child or something. Like it's gonna be good. And this guy next to me, he saw my, my information. He was like, "Honey, your flight already left." And I was like,
Ooh,
"No," and I'm
wow.
just still denying it. Like, "Nope, don't put that on me. It's all good." And then I get up there, and the woman saying like, "It won't let me print your boarding passes. Like it's just too late." And I just was like
Um,
in shock. Like I couldn't even. I wasn't even upset because I was so in shock because what I was feeling before of like this is so aligned, and then to be told, I was like, this isn't real. Like this, what is going on? And so I went to sit down and I called a couple friends to let them know, like, yeah, it's not happening. And I think I told them just because like I still couldn't believe it. Like it's like I wanted somebody to be like, no, like that's not true. And like
mm.
they were just like, are you okay? And I was like, I'll call you back. And I was just sitting there like like I said, I was just in shock. Like I was just sitting there, like I didn't know what was happening, and like I'm sitting there, and my friend who's in the Dominican, who is the one who invited me previously and invited me back this time, he messaged me, and it was an image of a flight, and he was like, "This one, get on."
Mm,
And it was one leaving the next morning. And so,
mm,
like, okay. So I went to the stand. I asked the woman, can you get me on this flight? She worked it out. It was fine. I drove back home, and I just remember like people checking in, like, are you okay? Like, because I think they were like, could tell, like, she must be pissed. Like, what, like I drove all this way. I got to drive all the way back. Um,
how far was the drive?
about 2.5 hours.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it
Okay.
was like a 5-hour trip, to
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like, yeah, and I was like, oh, but and then I just remember sitting with that, and I just telling them like I'm moving through a moment. I was like, I'll be fine. I'm just moving through this moment. And like I just, yeah, I was like bummed, and like like these things that I had done, like taking my kids to like morning care, which they never go to morning care. It was like I had this guilt then, and I was like, oh, and but I couldn't have known, so there was nothing I could have done, So I had to like get out of that of like, you didn't do that to your kids, like you didn't know, like you were supposed to be on there. So anyway, so it was like a lot of just like surrendering and like feeling through emotions and all this stuff. So then I finally get there and everything's good, everything's fine. But the way I went in, which is kind of similar to last time, is almost like I just kind of come in, and it's probably not the most, orthodox, or it's not for everybody to be doing, but somehow this is just what happens to me. So I come in, when I land, my friend has to drive about 2 hours to get to the land.
Wow.
So we get there, and literally I come in, put my stuff down, take a shower, and head over to the hut, like, or they call it the bohio. And so I was in there, like it was very like as soon as I land, you go right into it. And I was just like thinking, like I didn't even have time to think, but I think part of me was just kind of like worried on my travel there of like, is it going to be okay that I'm moving just right into this?
Mm.
Um, so anyway, the facilitator had no problem with it. She was like, no, like you're okay, like it'll be okay. So I'm in there, and it was me and another woman. I think she was a gynecologist, and
Oh
but
wow.
she also has like a spiritual background, and then the facilitator. So it's three of us, and so it was kind of like it felt like a very powerful like women's, just like this triangle.
Mm.
We're all like very different in these fields, but it was, yeah, it felt very powerful in that space. Um, but it was her first time. So we were in there, we pulled a card, we kind of like grounded ourselves, and then we began the ceremony. And I asked for the max. Like every ceremony is different from what I've hearing. And I think I mentioned this in the first experience or first journey I had, is that they ask for 15 or 20, but there's some ceremonies I've heard where they, the shaman looks at you and determines, and may even bring more to you or
Mm.
tell you like more. So there's all these, it's a variation, and I think it just depends on the lineage or whoever is conducting it. But the woman I was with, she asked 15 or 20, and I said 20. So we went right into it. And I had done
That's it.
20 before, so I was like, I'll
Oh,
be
okay.
okay. I'm thinking
Yeah,
like this is cool. But it was interesting because, I would say time is different when you're on the medicine, but I would say maybe about 45 minutes to an hour went in, and I really wasn't feeling much. And I was nervous that maybe because of all the stuff that had come up for me, and like the emotions, and like missing the flight, I was like, I must be what's the word I'm looking for? Like resisting it. I was like,
yeah.
there's something in me. I'm resisting it. Go ahead.
Well, let me ask you real quick. This time, I think I know you told me last time. So this time, what urged you to go do it again? What was that pull that you felt this time to even go? Do you
Mm. You know,
remember? Or...
I felt the pull again, maybe about 2 or 3 months beforehand.
Oh wow.
And unfortunately, and I thought that timing was perfect, but unfortunately, I had an issue with my breast come up. And so I didn't feel comfortable traveling, like when I was kind of considering what was going on health wise. And I was like, I need
Mm,
to stay local, even though my friends who are in the Dominican were like very supportive, and they were like, the plants are here, and like maybe they would help you, if you need to work through that in a non-Western medicine way, like,
mm,
if that's what you feel like you need to do. But at that time, I just like, I think I was trying to weigh the options, and I was just like, you know what, I'm not going to do it right now. I'll sit it out. And
mm.
I felt really upset about it because it was like around their birthdays, I think, or they were celebrating something. Maybe it wasn't a birthday, but I really wanted to be there. And but I felt like it was also another call or nudge to like take care of yourself. Like
Mm.
like I show up for all these people and I want to join in on these things, but there's some things where you got to sit back and like actually nurture yourself.
Absolutely.
So I just took that. And then this came up again. I don't remember how it came up. I think I asked about it. I was like, I think I'm ready. I don't know what made me think that, but I was like, I think I'm ready for another round of this. And I knew I had missed this other time, this other opportunity. And the facilitator who I trust, she was actually traveling in South Africa. She was on a pilgrimage. And so she wasn't going to be back for a bit, but she would
Mm,
be in the Dominican on that weekend. That for some reason it just came to my mind. I think it was like October 10th or something. Like I think it was October 10th or 11th, something, or the 11th. It was the 11th. I don't know why I had October 11th in my head, and I was just like, that sounds really good. Like 11 feels like, the portal, like a doorway. And I was like, an October, there's something about October for me that's like very like shedding. So I was like, October 11th sounds really good. And it just coincided that she was going to be in the Dominican at that time
mm.
before she was going to travel to, I think, Peru. So she's
Oh.
she's doing like a lot of this like work, and so or like training with people and things like that.
Mm,
But so when I heard she was going to be there at that time, I was like, well, then I gotta, this, it's now, like I'm going to do it. So I went ahead and booked it, and she was good with it. Um, and so, yeah, so that's how that aligned. So then we were in the Bohio, we started the ceremony. Um, I wasn't feeling anything, and I was kind of getting mad at myself because I was thinking it was me. Like I was like, I'm resisting it, or I was overthinking it, and now I can't get into it. And so I was really getting mad at myself. I was like, try and relax, like breathe, like let it in, and like I couldn't do it. And then and then I remember thinking like, should I go up and just ask for more? And and then part of me was like, but what if I ask for more? And all of a sudden it hits and like, woo! So I was like, I was sitting there with it of like, okay, just try to relax into this. And then I was really thinking, like, will she come up and ask if I want more? Or like, how will this go? And as soon as I'm thinking, will she ask? She literally was like, Debbie, can you feel the medicine? And I said, no. And then she asked the other woman, she was like, can you feel the medicine? And she said, no. So it
mm.
wasn't just me. It was, I guess, something about that batch. Maybe it was just a little different. So she asked if we wanted more. I think at the time, I think we both did take more. Yeah, we
Mm.
both took more. And then what she had us do was get into like downward dog, because
Oh,
she
okay.
she said we needed to allow the medicine to move. Like it was like probably stuck somewhere.
Mm,
Oh, yeah, so we did that, and then, so we, like, stretched a little bit, and then we laid back down, and then about again, time is skewed in there, I would say about maybe less than 10 minutes after the stretching, it came in, and,
mm.
it was kinda like when you recall, like, right now when I'm speaking about it, it's like when you recall a dream, and it's almost like you come into the middle of something, like, you don't know what was going on beforehand in the dream, you just remember these, like, snippets.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it was like that. Like I'm sure there was something else going on, but for some reason my consciousness can't remember it now. So it was almost like I just jumped right into this one scene, and it was like all these vibrant colors. And it's kind of how it was in my first ceremony. I remember describing it was like a kaleidoscope of all these shapes and colors. But in this one, it was a little different. It was, I feel like I saw roses, but
Mm,
but again, a very kaleidoscopic, like if I was looking through one of those things at a rose, it was like there was red and these other colors, but it was like mostly red. And then, interesting enough, because I'm thinking of a rose, then it led me into a sequence of like romantic things in my life.
mm,
And so, yeah, so it was interesting. And so it started there, at least that's where I remember it starting, was it like reviewed my relationships. Um, and it had me almost like choosing, like there were these two men, so I'll get personal for a minute and that's okay. But
okay.
I'm currently dating somebody, and at the time I was dating this person, there was another like romantic situation I had had before him
Mm,
that I guess wasn't fully closed off. And I will admit, like a part of me wondered, like, would he ever circle back, or would we work at another time, or like, because there was just something about his spirit that like I really deeply connected with, that I don't have with the person that I'm with now.
Mm,
And it's not to say that it's better, it's just different. And so like it just, there was always that kind of thing in my mind. So it showed me that pretty much of like, you've got these two people and you should be making a choice, kind of, or at least that's how I interpreted it. Like,
yeah.
if you're going to go in this direction, then you fully commit and you close out the other.
Mm,
And so it was kind of showing me these different situations, and with the guy who I felt this like deep connection with on like a different level. um it was showing me that like we could be very compatible, and the reason it didn't work was not because of him, but something internally in me that was blocked, but that I've done
mm,
enough work at this point that like it's unblocked, or that like he could be more open now to that connection. And the other interpretation I got was that like I would be backed up, like on a spiritual level, that like something would help if that's what I chose.
oh, okay.
Yeah. And so I thought that was interesting. And then it showed me in the other direction, which again is like very different, because this person is not as spiritual as I am.
Mm,
And so it's a very different connection, especially for where I'm at in my life, where I'm like going on these trips, and I'm also like connecting differently. And then I have somebody who's not, like he's very supportive, but he can't, I would say, understand to the level that somebody like you or other people who have had these experiences, like where I talk about it, and they're like, I know what you're talking about,
mm,
even though it might be subtly different, like they know he can't like meet me there in a
mm,
sense. But like I said, it's not to say that it doesn't work or it's bad, it's just it's different. And so it was showing me that, and that like where he's supportive, and that I have to be more open to support, and that I've done enough work now that like more supportive relationships could come in.
mm,
And so I ended up in this situation, in the scenario as this was playing out. I
mm.
did choose to stick it out with him. So then
Oh, so they
immediately,
showed you that as your, they showed you.
yeah, it was almost like two situations, and like you could see, like, yeah, it was like these visuals of like two different situations and how they could play out.
Yeah, yeah,
um,
amazing.
and then I just chose him, and I think I stated it, like I said his name, I was like, I choose him. So then
Wow,
as soon as I said that, this other guy disappeared, like it was like poof, like it just,
wow.
that situation disappeared. And then as soon as I had done that, it showed, it went into like another lifetime, and it showed me a man like wearing this long like headpiece that trailed down his back. It was like like what would you say, like a, maybe like a leader in a tribe, or somebody who's like well respected or something.
Mm,
It was weird, because it was like I was coming from behind him. It was like me, but in a different form. And I was walking behind him, and then I stood to the side of him and I looked at him, and I immediately, like, even though he doesn't look the same, I recognized him as the guy that I chose in this lifetime.
oh, in this life, the one
Yeah.
that's not as, yeah, and I got so much chills right now as you're saying this, so I definitely, well, obviously you saw it anyways with the plant medicine, but it's just, I guess it's just kind of like the little confirmations, right? Because I got so many chills right now as
Yeah.
you're telling this story. So this is the one that's not as,
And not as spiritual. Yeah.
but in the past life they showed you that he was like, yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was like a leader. And then I think I ended up looking it up more recently of like who would be wearing something like that. I think it were, for some reason when I first saw it, I thought of like animal teeth, but I think later on when I looked it up, it was like it would be white feathers or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, like a chief.
And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I was like, okay. And so yeah, it did say a chief, and
Mm,
it was like however many white feathers they had is how many times they had done something that was like worthy or like honorable or something. And he had, I'm telling you, it was like all the way down, like it was a multiple feathers. So he was
Mm.
like very, yeah, he had done a lot. But what was interesting in this vision is that, like I said, I came up from behind him and I stood next to him and I looked at him and I immediately recognized him. But what was happening in that vision was we both were walking and then we sat down and he was asking for my input on something.
Mm.
And so it was, I don't know what kind of relationship we had, if it was like a romantic situation or if he just trusted me and it
Mm.
was like platonic. I'm not sure. But it was just an interesting parallel to like how supported I feel from him in this lifetime. And
Ah.
in this situation, it's like you've got this man who's very well respected who sat me down and was like, I need your input on this. So
Yeah.
like, and being like a female, like in that time, I'm not sure how they treated women, but I
Well,
would assume, a
well,
chief would have more. Yeah, go ahead.
no, no, just go what I'm getting real quick because even in a lot of tribes, it was like a lot of the women they would like a council of women would choose the chief, right? So it's not uncommon to in that I'm kind of my guts lighting up, so I'm guessing this is kind of the scenario. Maybe you were one of the because so women were very respected in indigenous tribes, right? So you were probably one of the council, right? That so it's not uncommon if yeah, I'm getting chills everywhere. So
Yeah.
you probably were the one, like one of those that, right? You probably helped make him a chief, even, right? Like you probably were one of the ones that voted. This is the one that's gonna be chief, and so
Mm,
yeah. So it wasn't a con. Wow, I got so much chills.
yeah,
I feel
chill.
like
Yeah.
this is
Ooh, I
what
feel it.
this
I
was.
feel it here. Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, I just like my whole hair just grew
Mm,
now. So
I
this
can't.
is this is what I'm feeling was
Yeah.
this situation. Wow. Okay, continue. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
So anyway, so it was just a really good feeling overall to like first to confirm that we've worked together before. And I know I've told you, other people wouldn't know this, but when I first met this guy, like on paper, like what I knew he wasn't spiritual, and like a part of me was like, are we really gonna do this? But but he's just a very kind soul, and like I said, he's very supportive. But there was something in our relationship where I even told him, like maybe a week into knowing each other, I was like, it feels like we're picking up from somewhere. And I was like,
Mm.
I was like, I haven't really had that before, so it's not like a line I use with people, like, you know what I mean? Like, I was telling him this, I was like, but for some reason this feels really familiar, but like in a friendly, like, I already know you, or like it just felt very friendly. Like I think I described it as like it's like we were friends like growing up, and you moved away and now you came back, and so we're just picking back up.
Mm.
And so when I had this situation in the vision, I was like, now it makes sense. Like that's why it feels familiar, because it confirmed that, like, yeah, we knew each other before. And then it also showed like that level of support of like, he's not above me, I'm not above him. It's like we're mutually discussing something,
Mm.
and I am respected for what I have to say.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it was an interesting, like, yeah, so it was an interesting scenario. Additionally too, I don't know if it was like in that same like sequence of time or if it jumped later on, but I think I had asked the medicine, like, is he going to take the medicine at some point in this lifetime? Or like, I think I was curious about it because I was going to invite him, but like something told me that I just needed to go on my own.
Mm.
And it worked out because, like I said, it was women. And so like, the balance of things, I believe in like finding that good balance. But, so, and also I probably would have been thrown off knowing that like a partner of mine was in the same room or something. But I had asked and it showed him um it showed him taking the medicine, and then it was almost like a camera, it like moved, and I was the one leading the ceremony.
Oof.
So it was like, he'll take it but not until you're in this place. And I take that as like a metaphor. I don't think it necessarily means that I will be leading a ceremony, but I think it's something of like once you tap into something that like whatever I'm supposed to be doing as my purpose, or when I'm like more in tune and not so restricted or held down by the 3D kind of work zone, like then he'll do it.
No,
Um,
no, but when you said it again, I just felt this like boom, like of all the chill. So, maybe it will be that. Maybe you'll be leading the ceremony when he takes it. So that was
yeah.
pretty interesting.
But
Okay,
and
go
so
ahead.
going back to like the connecting too, two things there. One, I just kind of made that last little piece up of like, oh, maybe that's not what that means, because this is what I was doing in the first ceremony of like when I'm shown that that's what I will be doing, I'm like, that's I can't do that.
Mm.
Now, as I'm telling you this of what I saw, I'm already changing like maybe it doesn't mean that, it's a metaphor, but like, yeah, anyway, it's interesting. I catch myself. And
Yeah.
then the other piece too is in the first ceremony, I remember I think I asked about, who would my next partner be, or like, can you show me anything about a future relationship? And it showed me um or I don't remember if it showed me or if it told me, because in the first I could hear things as if somebody was talking to me, and but it was like an internal. It wasn't even hearing through my ear; it was hearing through my body. So it was either that or I would get a visual. In this case, I got it through my body. I heard through my body, and what it was telling me was that um, I would meet a counterpart is what how I interpret it. I would meet a counterpart during a ceremony that I am leading,
Mm.
that we would instantly recognize each other. And so now when in the second ceremony, when it showed him drinking it and then flipping to like, but I'm leading it,
No.
it like clicked. I was like, so then that would make sense. Cause like I said, he's not spiritual. He's not had visions or like these things that I talk about. He doesn't remember his dreams. And so it's like, I have all these things. And so it's interesting. Like if he were to drink it, then like maybe something would be shown where he's like, oh my God, like we do know each other or something,
Mhm. But
So it
what
kind of,
I kept hearing though right now when you were saying that was in this life. So when you're saying, oh, he's not in this life, I just kept hearing that. So obviously you know, it's
yeah.
just, but once you connect, then you go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. Yeah, it's a really interesting thing. I think just for anybody to kind of consider, not to like, shun anybody or close any opportunity out just because somebody is not, like you said, in this lifetime. That's not how they're presenting. Doesn't
Yeah.
mean it's not in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, very interesting. But yeah, so it showed me that another key piece with relationships, actually two other things. One of them was there was another guy I had been briefly, I wouldn't even say dating. We were like getting to know each other, but there was a lot of resistance between us. So I wouldn't even say dating. It was a very uncomfortable. It was like I hate to describe it like this, but I can even feel it on me. But I would say it was like a very dense energy. I've never worked with somebody who has this, like in this close proximity. So it was very interesting. Um, and again, him and some other people were kind of telling me that I was the one, like, you're the one that's closed off and you can't let like love in, or you can't do this. And I'm like, really? And I'm like, okay, well, then let me go work on it. And in the ceremony, it showed me like not him, but it showed me his like lineage, like these other ancestors and the way they came in. Again, we take it however it is, whether it's metaphor, real, or another dimension. It was like all of these people that I associated with him. It was like his ancestors, and
Mm.
they were vampires.
Oh.
And yeah, so again, I was like, whoa. And I hadn't watched anything like that recently. So it's like, it wasn't anything like seeping from my subconscious, but it was showing me that. And it was like, that's why you felt this like, okay, I can only get so close to you, or like,
Mm.
there was something there. And it was showing me that like, he's not aware of something that's in his lineage that's like blocking or like causing this like divide in connecting. And what the medicine was telling me too was that like I needed to trust myself more, trust my own instinct, despite how many people would tell me that I was wrong. Like, because like I
Mm.
said, I even had close friends, they're therapists, and they were telling me like, honey, I think you're, you're too wounded and you're not letting him in. And like they had
Wow.
heard about him and they were like, he sounds like a great guy, like why won't you let him in, all this kind of stuff. And there was just something about him, I just like I couldn't. And so when it was showing me all this and being like, you need to trust yourself, even if like 50 people said you were wrong, like you felt it and like you were right.
Mm.
And so it showed me that. And again, it was telling me to close it out, like on social media and things like that, like not letting him access any kind of my life or energy. So it was showing me that. And then another piece was with my ex-husband. Him and I, just like with the legal stuff and just like kids and custody and all that, like there's been sometimes this tension or this odd energy. And what was interesting was it showed my ancestors on one side, and what it looked like was like a white line, like made from chalk or something.
Mm.
And on the other side were his ancestors. And there was a female um, like presence in the front on my side, and she was talking to a male on his side, and
Wow.
like pretty much discussing that like the contract was done,
Wow.
that and she was like asking his side to help him let go.
Wow.
Hmm.
Wow. That's
Yeah. So
crazy.
yeah, it was really powerful. Yeah, so it was showing me that. So that was the whole piece on relationships. It was just like it was showing me all this stuff, and even also on a physical level, it was. This is interesting. I will put in because I do think it's might be helpful for other people as well. Um, I like for some reason I think I've mentioned in the first, like my like gut area sticks out, like it tends to stick out. I tend to be more bloated, and I haven't really been able to find the best fix for that or remedy or whatever. And there's so many things on the market to say like this is going to debloat you or help you with this or whatever, or hormones and all this kind of whatever, so you never really know what to take. But what the medicine showed me was a couple things, and one was that like I need to do some kind of like womb clearing,
Mm.
because it was telling me like if I've been intimate with certain people who did not have the best intentions, even if they are just not even aware or conscious of it in this lifetime, if I could sense it, like even with the guy whose lineage appeared in this vision as vampires, like it's like if he was anywhere near my body, it's like you got to clear that out.
Mm.
um it also showed me too, just as like a mental health therapist, that like when people are giving me this information, I might be able to drop it or compartmentalize it, but where it's going is it's going down into my gut, that I have to
Wow.
like figure out a way to like make a ritual of releasing. And so I do think that that's important for other people in case anybody else struggles with like holding weight or water in like a certain part of the body. It may be that you need to figure out how to release something.
Mm.
So I'm still working on that. I have figured out ways to like protect a little bit, or I one thing that I've started to do was I don't know if you're familiar with the worry dolls in the like.
I think I actually have some. I don't know who gave them to me as a
Nice.
gift, but I think I have some. I don't know where they're at though.
Yeah. So what I started doing, I only have one, but I do want to get like a bunch of them and put them in a bowl in my office. But what I have
Mm.
started doing is when I know they're going to share something heavy, is I have them hold the doll and like tell it to the doll. Because
Mm.
to me, it feels like you're moving that into that piece versus at me.
Wow.
And so at least that's what I've just kind of come up with in my mind. And then I have a box for it. And so I'll put it in and close it so that it's like, okay, that energy is in there and you stay in there, you
Yeah.
know? And then I have like a spray that I left frankincense and myrrh. And so
Mm.
like if I already know somebody is typically a little more heavy with their stuff, I'll go ahead and spray myself as like this kind of protectant of like, you can share that, but it's not going to like pass into my space like that.
Mm,
Um, so I've been working on it. And so things like that, just trying to figure out what you can do, depending on whatever your field is and things like that.
mm,
But it showed me that, and it was interesting when it went through the piece about like, people that we allow into our sexual space and stuff like that. I just remember having the nastiest taste in my mouth. And I really thought I was going to throw up. And I
wow.
wanted to. Like, it felt like something was trying to come up out of me.
Mm,
And I just remember getting this visual, and I could feel it too. It was like these, I would say, guides. They were like trying to pull something out, and I feel like it was more on this side of my body. I could feel it more on there, but then I felt it like go up my back, and
mm,
it like they were pulling. It was almost like they were pulling this like string or this rope, but they were pulling really hard, and I could just feel it like tighten. And I even remember making a noise as if like I was in pain. Like I just like made this loud noise, and they were pulling on it. But then what they ended up telling me was that it was so deep in me that that's when it mentioned like I have to figure out how to cleanse or clear something out of like the womb area that they like tried, but it was so deep in there that like I have to do that work.
wow.
And then I kind of felt like bummed because I was like, well, how am I supposed to do that if you can't do it,
Mm,
And I was like kind of nervous about like what is this doing to my body? Like what, I was getting nervous. And then it like the medicine instructed me to start like touching my body. Like it was like heal yourself. And I
wow.
was like, what does that mean? So I'm like moving my hands around and like doing stuff. And the medicine was telling me, like, you know how to do this. So I
Mm,
started like giving myself like a massage and stuff and like moving stuff. And it was just telling me like you're going to remember
mm,
how to use your hands to heal yourself.
wow.
And I was like, okay. So I just started doing that. It just felt very like foreign, but it was like, stop thinking about it, just move your hands around. I was like, okay. And so I was doing that. But again, yeah, it was just this like nasty taste. And I just like, I wanted it out. Like, I was like, I
Mm,
almost was going to force myself to throw up because I was like, it was just such a nasty feeling. And then, and even also when it showed me the vampire kind of clan, I'll call them, when it showed me them, I remember thinking that there was like smoke in the room. I was worried that like something had caught on fire, so I opened my eyes. Like my eyes were mostly closed during the journey, but I opened my eyes thinking something caught on fire because I could smell smoke. It was like it just felt like there was like these dark clouds, um but nothing was on fire, nothing was in there. But I think I remember coughing a few times as if there was smoke in the room.
wow.
And like so it was a very deep energy that they were carrying. It was interesting. And I
Mm,
even had to figure out at that point when it showed me them, it also showed, I think one of my ancestors was like asking me to get rid of them, like to
mm,
push them out of, I guess, like my energetic space. And I didn't know how to do that. And it was like, it's all your intention, and you get to invite what comes in, and you get to allow things to exit. And
mm,
so I just remember, I think the guide or the ancestor that was telling me this like handed me like it was like a stick, like a long like some type of, I don't know, maybe like a power tool or something like that. But I just remember I was like instructing the vampires to like leave me alone if they weren't welcome, all this kind of stuff. And then I just remember like hitting it down, and then they were gone, like they
wow.
left. And it was telling me like that I need to start doing that more, and to like just allow people to exit my life and not to keep them there, and that
Mm,
it's taking too much of my space even if I don't always feel it like it's there.
mm.
Yeah. um
So let me ask you this real quick. After that experience, now do you believe that vampires do exist, or
Yeah,
did
it's
you?
an interesting thing. I would have never, like I'm very into like mermaids. I think I would tell you this, right? Like I think there's another dimension that like we can't always tap into, that like there's mermaids. I believe that I was a mermaid in a past life, and that all these things. So what is so wild about thinking like, yeah, there's vampires, and like, even like I said, like that this guy's lineage could have had a very similar feel or depiction. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
No, I think it's good. I like it, definitely, like it definitely opened my mind of like, don't ever, say that something is not real. Because like, yeah,
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 exactly.
yeah. So it was interesting. Hmm.
So why do you think the first you when you went in there, you already kind of had the intention of really finding out about these relationships? Is that why you think they showed you that first?
Interesting. Yeah, I think I was carrying all of that because I
Okay.
definitely had like the worries and like the what ifs and all that. But my intention was actually more so about healing, like my body, because I have had breast issues. And then the other thing was trying to find out more about my purpose, I guess, because in the first ceremony, like I said, it showed me as like a shaman or somebody who was facilitating these ceremonies. And so I wanted more clarification on that.
Mm,
Um, and I remember too, leading up to the ceremony, I think a week before, I just remember having these dreams, and the themes were around being a medicine woman.
mm.
And like, it was very, like, I remember waking up one morning and just like, I just remember like really integrating or being very like connected to like, I am a medicine woman. Like I remember waking up one day and just like confirming it. I was like, that is what I am, that's what I do. um and so it was interesting, and so I like, that's what I would like came asking. And so another connecting piece from the first ceremony was, in the first one, a tribe came up to me and was like handing me a crown, and I couldn't put it on. I got to like this point and I couldn't put it on me. I remember like my hand shaking, like part of me wanted to put it on, but then this other part was like, that's not yours. Like it felt very like, I felt like a fraud. It felt
Oh,
like I wasn't good enough to put a crown on or call myself a queen or whatever the case was in that situation. And as soon as like I could recognize I couldn't put it on, the visual disappeared, and
wow.
I felt really bad. I remember thinking like I let people down, or like I didn't step into a role that I should have stepped into. And so this time around, I remember when the journey started, I remember something came into me and I was like, I'm going to go back for the crown. And in this ceremony, again, it showed me people coming with a crown, but it was slightly different.
Oh, wow.
Like it was a community, like almost like a neighborhood. But they all had this makeup on, like for like Dia de los Muertos. It was like they had the sugar skull paint on. They had the like crown of like flowers around them,
Mm,
and they were coming with a flower crown. And so they were handing it to me, and this time I had no problem taking it, and I put it on. And as soon as I put it on, like I hear all this like almost like tribal like yelling, or like this like noise, like it was like a celebration. Then this music played, they're all dancing. It was like a whole big thing, and I remember crying because it was like I felt really like honored that like
wow.
they were so excited that I did that. And so it was like a whole thing. And I remember at that point too, the facilitator, when she was singing, she even like, I remember the tone in her sound changed. It was very like celebratory.
Wow.
And so like, yeah, so it was very interesting. And so it almost made me wonder, I was like, can she see this, or like she's like, you know what I mean, like I'm not the only one seeing it or something. I felt very like it was all connected. Like
Yeah.
I don't think she was seeing what I was seeing, but like in that moment, it felt like she was so tuned into, yeah, it's a celebration. And she was like getting louder and louder. And, I think even at the end, I might have made this up perceptually, but I feel like she clapped or something at the end of her
Mm,
song, and then it got quiet. And
wow.
so, like, yeah, so it was really interesting. But yeah, so that happened. And then I'm trying to think if the what else. I feel like it was a lot around the body. It did show me again my breast, and so in the first ceremony, and this is interesting. I don't know what to make of it, but I think, we all go through different phases of healing. And so it's not to say that like it was wrong in the first, and also we have so many different lives if you believe in past lives or parallel lives. So it's like it could shift or change. But in the first ceremony, I asked about my breast and like, why am I having this issue? And at that point, it was so early on, I think, in what was going on. Um, and so just to kind of give a little brief overview, I had had abscesses in my breast and they couldn't
Mm,
figure out what was causing it. They ruled out cancer, they ruled out autoimmune, but they just kept flaring up and it would get really bad.
mm,
And so in the first ceremony, when I asked about it, it showed me a past life where I was in a war, and it was like I was part of a tribe. I was in a war, and somebody shot me with an arrow right in that same spot.
wow.
And so I had had a flare up. I think in 2023 I had was when I had my first abscess, and it came back again. Oh, I want to say, I don't remember now, maybe 2 years later, so 20, like early 2025, or I guess whenever when I went in December or something like that. I don't remember. Maybe I was still having pain or something, and that's why I asked, but I don't think there was an actual flare up, but I was having pain. And so it was like making me nervous that something was going to happen again. And it was telling me not to be scared, but to allow that pain to remind me how strong I am or something
Mm,
like that. But it showed me that. And um, then I had another flare up this year, and I was actually hospitalized for it. And they still, like I said, they can't figure out what it is. So I asked about that specifically, like, what do I do about it? And that's what actually prevented me from traveling that first, the
mm,
again, like a few months prior to this ceremony. That's what happened. And so because I had been hospitalized and then another flare up happened, I was like, I don't want to travel and end up having to rely on, like, I trust the plants, but I also wanted to play it smart in case I did need a hospital and
mm,
I would be in a whole other country. So I was like, let me just like not do that. But what the medicine told me this time about it was that it was related to a mother wound,
mm,
and that there was something I needed to repair. And now at this point, I had multiple, like it wasn't in the same spot. Like twice, it was in the same exact spot, and that's when the ceremony told me. The first ceremony was like, that's because this arrow hit you, and it was such a impactful moment in that like time period that it like amplified through all of my lifetimes.
wow.
Yeah, it was like it showed me, it was almost like this vibration. It was like it vibrated through all of my lifetimes. So no matter what, I guess in my next lifetime, something is going to be there as well, or something is potentially going to happen. But yeah, so it was like it'll always be there. But then, like I said, in this time, because there was another spot that came up, it was not in the same exact spot. It was telling me it was a mother wound, and that there was something that I need to kind of reconnect with, and that it started from when I was adopted. That
Mm,
there's like this deep wound from when I was kind of disconnected from that mother, that
wow.
even though I bonded well with my adoptive mother, there's still like this block, and that I need to share more. Basically, was the idea was that, like, it's interesting. My sister, who's also adopted, she calls my mom every day, maybe even 3 times a day, to just kind of, shoot the shit, like tell her whatever, like, oh, I just ate some spaghetti, or like it just random, things about her day. I don't do that.
Oh.
But yeah, so I'll just call, like, to give updates every now and then. But I would say I think my sister was a little more dependent on my mom. And I
Mm,
think growing up, I kind of just like moved to the side because I saw that my sister needed more help than I did. But then I took on a more, I guess, hyper independent role where I'm like, I can do this. I can fix things on my own. I don't need to like tell you all of my problems.
mm,
But from what I was getting from the medicine is that she wants to know stuff, and that
wow.
I need to be open and share it. Even if it's like my sister saying, I just made some spaghetti, like, to share.
Mm.
So yeah.
And would that connection lead to healing that mother wound that happened so many lifetimes ago? Is that what they were showing you?
I think so, but it seemed like it was more in this lifetime because of when I was adopted at 2. It was saying that at that point, I would what the feeling I got was that like I guarded my heart in a way
Mm,
to a mother, just like how we like. I may have all the friends in the world, but if I have an issue with like intimate relationships, then I'm not going to let somebody into that space. So
mm.
it's like I can connect with all these people, but for some reason it was showing me that like when it comes to my mom, I'm blocked.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's
Uh,
where it stemmed from, right? From your,
yeah. Hmm.
wow.
So it was showing me that like to share more, to be a little more open in that sense, and that it would kind of work itself out. And then it also kind of reemphasized that other piece of like trusting that I can heal myself.
Mm,
And so I did actually, I think when I came back from the ayahuasca trip, I told my surgeon who I had been seeing and who she had been getting the labs from and all that. I ended up telling her that I was going to take a more natural route. And because she, she was very open and honest and was like, I don't know what this is, but this is what we can do about it. And she recommended actually like a surgery. And it didn't really sit right with me. And there's been times where, not to get too graphic, there's been times where my breast has just drained itself. And prior to them going in. So like I've had something scheduled where they were going to use like they were going to like put they call it an aspiration where they put this like needle in with like a syringe or something and they pull out whatever fluid is in there. It's very painful.
oh, wow.
And then also when they leave that kind of like hole, it's so easily, at least with my body, it's gotten infected. It's like made
Mm,
it worse. And
mm,
so this time when she was like, we could do a surgery, and just like really look at what's in there and like scrape it out or whatever. I was just like, no. And so, like I said, whenever I had like an aspiration scheduled, like let's say I had it set for next Wednesday, on Tuesday, my breast would drain itself.
wow.
It would do it on its own. So then
Wow.
when I would get there, they would be like, oh, like we can't even really go in because it's already open or it did it.
Mm,
So and she even said that to me. She's not like a holistic doctor, but she was just like, that's so interesting because it happened twice. She was like, it's so interesting. Your body is just doing it by itself. But she didn't
mm.
say, she wasn't like, trust that or like keep going. And that she was just like, that's just so interesting. And I was like,
Wow.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I was like, and so when I told her, I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it more naturally. I was like, I trust that my body, if it needs something to get out, it'll do it on its own. And I feel like she didn't, I think she interpreted it, like took what I said as if like she didn't know what she was doing, you know, rather than like, oh, I'm glad that you can trust your body to do what it needs to do. So
Yeah.
I remember she was just like, okay, well, call me if you need me, and just like left the room. It was like a very like cold. She was very friendly with me all the time. I really trusted her and like we had a good relationship. But as soon as I said that, she was just like, well, just call me if you need me, and just like left. And I was like,
Wow.
okay. So sorry, I got a call, but okay. Um, yeah, so it was interesting, but I haven't had an issue since, knock on wood. And I've just been like, just paying attention and like caring for myself, I guess, and trying to eat better and, reduce caffeine use and all this kind of stuff. Even
Mm,
though there's really no link to caffeine and the breast, and I've asked multiple doctors about it. They're saying there's no link, but I've just been doing that. And then another thing too in the ceremony, speaking of caffeine, was when I was in the ceremony, my purge, which is similar to the first ceremony, was a lot in my nose.
oh, wow.
So the woman I was with, she was throwing up. And I remember like I would think like going into it because we were so close. It was such a small space compared to the first ceremony where we
Mm,
had like 14 people in there. We're all spread out. It was bigger. This was a very small like hut type. And it was just the
Mm.
three of us, and it was comfortable enough for the three of us. But like her and I were right next to each other. And I just remember hearing her throw up and stuff. But like I wasn't put off by it. I was very much like, yeah, get that out. Like get it out. Like I was like cheering her on in a way. But
Yeah.
I didn't verbalize it. But in my head, I was just like, yes, like I could feel like she was really getting it out. And I was like proud of her.
Mm.
But for me, it was like I cried a lot. I had a few like moments, I think like when I was yelling because I was like this pain in my stomach. And then a lot of the time when I was crying, it showed me to like, it was telling me to like blow my nose and get it all out. And I was blowing, and I had so much tissue everywhere, just like in the first ceremony. But it was telling me, it was like, it's not all out yet. You need to keep blowing. And I was like, what? And I'm thinking, like, how much more like could be in me? Because it was just so much.
Mm.
And then I blew again, and it was like the biggest mound of mucus I've ever had. I
Wow.
was like, ooh. So, and then it was telling me, the medicine was telling me like all of that was in me has like blocked me up here. And that
Wow.
like even though I can't feel it on a regular basis, that like it's hard for my gifts to come through, because like when you channel or when you receive information, a lot of it is coming through the crown. And it's like if all of that's in there, it's like it's not, like it's hard for it to really be direct.
Mm.
um and so it was showing, it was to after that I was like, I think I asked it like, how can I, what should I be doing so that I'm not so clogged up? And it was telling me to lay off the caffeine, and I was
Mm.
like, no.
Ah, ha, ha. Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Cause that's like my one thing, like well,
Hmm.
coffee, right? But I mean, I don't think it. There has been times, and yeah, I've been led to clear from it at least for a little bit, but it hasn't. I can't say that it's affected me, but who knows? Maybe that's something.
I'm not sure. It might just be for me. But yeah, it was telling me to like lay off the caffeine, to like go
Mm.
on regular cleanses of it. Um, and yeah, I don't know, but I still drink coffee, but I will like I've been, I guess I would say, yeah, I just do like intermittent like cleansing from it, or like, yeah, there's some weeks where I feel called to like not drink it. And I'm like, I'm not going to do it today, no matter how tired I am.
Mm.
Like, I know, like, I'm not really supposed to drink it today. But yeah, I mean, there's some days where it's like I almost like overcompensate. I'm like, I missed a whole week. I'm going to have three
Ah, ha, ha.
today, like,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, no,
But
but you know what? Maybe I'll try to. I mean, I've gone like during the pandemic. I went a whole year without coffee, and it was good. So maybe I'll try it. Yeah, I mean, if they told you, I'm sure there was a reason for it. So maybe I'll try to slowly.
yeah. But
Would.
it could be different for everybody. I mean, like my I think my sinus system is like so different. Like since
Mm.
COVID, my sense of smell is not 100. It's like it's a little off. Like my kids will smell something that could be so far away, and they're like, "Ew," and I'm like, "What?" And like I can't smell it. I
Wow.
would like, I joke with people, and I'm like, a dirty diaper would have to be like right next to me for me to know like, oh, that's the smell.
Hmm.
But like somebody else could probably smell it from like upstairs, and they'd be like, ooh, what is that? Like, so my nose is not, there's something for sure in my sinus system. And so maybe that's just the association, is like if my sinuses are already like a little off, the caffeine is not helping or something.
Yeah.
But so I'm not saying to everybody that like lay off the caffeine and you'll be able to connect better, but in my case that's what it was showing me, is like I have all this buildup, and the caffeine was not helping.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So
uh,
then from there, what else? Where did it take you?
yeah, so I remember randomly at some point it showed me, I was like in another planet, and it was uh, like what we would call aliens, like alien beings. They were tall, they were like gray and slender. I don't think they were wearing any clothes,
Mm.
but it was like a line of them. They were speaking in what I would consider Spanish. It might,
Really?
it might have not been that, but like that's how my mind was interpreting it, was
Mm.
like a similar dialect or something.
Wow.
But that was a very quick, I don't know if it was something in me that like maybe I was like, I don't really need to be here, or I don't, something about it. Like it was like it showed me and then I was gone. And so
Wow.
like I'm not really sure why. Like I said, it might have just been like I didn't think it was relevant to me, or I don't know why. But I moved. And then interesting enough, speaking of things that weren't relevant, is there were some things that would come in um that I felt like didn't really have anything to do with me.
Mm.
Um and so, you know, uh it's taken me a while. I think I even mentioned in the first episode of the ceremony that like I was not like not calling myself a channel or like an intuitive. That started happening after that first ceremony. Is I started having more discussions of that, and it would kind of naturally come out to people like that, like, yeah, I can channel, or like sometimes I get intuitive information in the moment and like it helps or something. But things like that. But in this case, gosh, I already forgot where I was going with that statement. Oh yeah. So what I gathered was like I was getting all this information, like even one thing, like this is, trigger warning for anybody. There was an idea and feeling around rape.
Oh.
And that's not something of my experience. Like I'll self-disclose, like I've been assaulted before,
Mm.
had situations where boundaries have been crossed,
Mm.
but like I have not been raped
Mm.
in this lifetime. But some reason this like idea was coming up. I was getting really like sad and heavy about it. But then like my mind, again, too, maybe it's the therapy mind or like me getting like like perceiving things in so many different ways. I like stopped it and I was like, wait a minute. I was like, this isn't my story.
Mm.
And something else happened where I was like following somebody down a hallway that looked like an apartment building. And again, too, like I go into this man's apartment and I was like, this is not my life. And like it just felt like there were so many, it was almost like a library, but it was like I was going into what felt to me other people's lives.
Oh, okay.
And then I had to like really close in. I had to like get into my body, and I was just like, those are not your lives, like close it out. Like it very
Oh,
much
wow.
felt like, to me it felt like the Akashic records,
Yeah,
or
yeah, that's what
something.
it sounds like. Yeah.
It was like this library, but like a part of me was like, this isn't yours. And so
Mm.
like it, and around then too was showing me like, so I closed it out of those lives, the idea of a woman being raped and then this man going down a corridor or whatever. Like I closed that out, but then it was showing me people in my life. So like showed me my ex-husband, and it was showing that like him as a motivational speaker, and that if I would tell him, it gave me a tip. I don't even remember it now, to be honest. It gave me some tip to let him know of like a way for him to clear something in his throat chakra, for him to feel more confident in speaking to a large group of people.
Wow.
And it gave me that information. It showed me the guy I'm dating now, and it showed me like a blockage that he has in his body. And again, it was like giving me all this information as if I should be helping. But then I again tapped back into myself, because I was like, I don't want to know these things. Like it felt very like intrusive. Like,
Mm.
you know what I mean? Like I was like, I don't need to know about my ex-husband, and nor do I need to give him advice on what to do. And I don't want to know, like, not that I don't want to know, but like if my boyfriend wanted to share something, like, okay, then share it with me. But like it almost felt like I was getting a glimpse into something that like a diary. Like I was like, I don't need to know that. And so I closed it off. And so what I picked up from all of that, at least like looking back on it, was that like, yeah, I can channel, or like I get into a certain state where like I have access, but it's my decision of like what I want to access. And so like I don't know why, but I felt very proud of my decision to like close it out.
Mm.
versus like, oh yeah, I'm dating this guy, let me find out about this. You know what I mean? Like it just felt very like intrusive. I was like, no, that's like private. Like if he wants to talk about those things, like he will. And yeah, so anyway, so it was showing me that kind of stuff. Um and then this is an interesting piece. I think this is probably one of the last pieces that I kind of remember. It's like one of the bigger events. The facilitator came over to me, and she was like, at some point she like worked something in my stomach area, like she grabbed it and like moved something and was like doing something, like hit my chest, and like
Mm,
she was like moving stuff. And then she also told me to blow my nose. She was like, you need to blow your nose.
mm,
And I was like, okay. And like I
mm,
blew it. And then she was like, again. And then I did it again. And another like big like thing release came out from it. I was like, oh my God. And then she was sitting there and she was like blowing smoke at me and stuff, or the tobacco. And she was like, sing. And I was like I didn't say this to her, but in my head I was like, I don't know how to sing. Like,
ah,
and so I think she could tell like I didn't like I was thinking that. So she was like, you're just gonna open your mouth and it'll come out.
mm,
And I was like, I just like I overthought it, so I was definitely blocking it. But then after a bit, I was like singing something, I was humming something, and my perception, because everything is like amplified when you're on the medicine, it felt to me, my eyes were closed, it really felt like, when you hear a bee really close to you and it's like,
yeah.
like, or like a fly, like you can just, that sound is so like high pitched. It was like when I was humming, it felt like there was something like in my ear
Oh.
doing that, because it was such a, like, I guess, like I said, my perception was so amplified, like how I was feeling the humming in my throat and all that. It felt like it was just like all this, yeah. Anyway, yeah. And yeah, and then I had this visual when I was singing, which I don't really know. It's funny to think about it because I'm sure it didn't sound great, but in
Mm,
my mind at the time when it was happening, because the perception is so different, it seemed like it was like very good, like it didn't come from me. It felt like something else was coming through, and I had this image of myself almost like this young, like how I describe, like a young princess or something like that. Like, and I was like sitting somewhere and I was like singing. So I had this
mm,
like outside visual of myself. Um, anyway, and then I just remember after I stopped, it felt like my body was drained, like it just took so much out of me to do that. And then the facilitator was like, you can lay down, you can rest. And she was like, you did a good job. And she like
wow.
left. And I
Wow.
was just like, oh my God. And then yeah, and so I then had this visual of this one woman that I ended up running the somatic workshop with last time. The last time we held this event, which was the first time we did it, it was just the two of us. So it was me as the somatic movement facilitator, and then she did her sound bath after. And so it was about a week before then, maybe, or 2 weeks when I did the ceremony.
Mm,
And it showed me her and I working as like a team, and that it
oh,
was like, that it was a good like collaboration, and
wow.
that it would, it would be successful. And
Mm,
so it also showed me that like I would surprise myself if I step into that space. And then when I was laying down, after the woman was like, you can lay down and rest, when I laid down, I was like curling up, and it showed me singing in a space like like where I'm doing the somatic stuff. It was like, instead of doing that, like I would be using my voice
mm,
to heal. And so and then again, I like broke down because I was like, that's not me. Like, what are you talking about? And then it's interesting kind of looping back to this, because last night I shared this with you today, but last night something is like coming up through my throat, and it like scared me. because I was
Mm,
like, this is strange. Like, I don't normally, like, nothing is usually coming out of my throat like that, but it's like this, like, chanting or these, like, kind of nonsensical words and sounds. It's like, to me, logically doesn't make sense, but it's like, it feels like something is like being remembered in my body. Um,
mm,
so yeah, and then I could feel. So what I will say too, I'll finish this out. The medicine hit me a lot stronger this time. Like once it hit me so strong. I want to say the girl next to me might have taken more again. Like we took a second round because that first time it didn't really hit us.
yeah.
But I want to say the facilitator did ask. She asked her, "Do you want more?" And she took more.
Oh, wow.
And then she asked me, and I didn't mean to, but I was like, "No." And they both just like laughed at me because
Wow.
they could I think they could see like I think I was sitting up and I just like went down. I was like, no.
Wow.
And they like laughed. And then the medicine's coming like when the medicine should be coming down, because I could tell with the woman singing it was starting to like come down. The other girl was like talking a bit more. Like it was supposed to be coming down, just like in my first experience. I could feel it leaving me. This
Mm,
was not leaving me.
mm,
And so, we were having kind of like a conversation, and I was talking, and we like I couldn't even tell you what I said because I was still so in the medicine. And then they were like, you need water. Both of the women were trying to give me water. And I was just like drinking. I would drink the whole thing. Like I was like so thirsty in my throat, everything. And then when we got up to like clean up, I remember just standing up. My legs were shaking. Like I could not. And it was like I was like intoxicated, like drunk. Like I was like, I want to help clean, but I can't even stand up.
oh, wow.
And like I was leaning against the wall. I had to go to the bathroom. I just like I could not get it together. The One of the women, the gynecologist, she had to like hold me up to walk me back to where I was staying.
Wow.
And like it was yeah, and then I just remember the medicine was still hitting. Like I was trying to go to sleep, but it was like all this information was still coming in. And I was like, I just want to rest and like all this stuff. And
Wow.
the facilitator ended up messaging me and was like, is everything okay?
Mm,
And I was like, yeah, I was like, the medicine is still working. I was like, and like, I'm trying to go to sleep. And she was like, she's like, don't worry. She's like, the rest will come. And eventually it did. And then I remember trying to message a couple people to let them know I was okay, but like I couldn't even like I remember looking at the phone, I couldn't even figure out like how to text. Like I was
wow.
like it was that strong. Like I was like, oh, and like it just felt foreign. I was like, oh my god. So even for when the facilitator said that, I had to send her a voice memo as like how I had to do it because I couldn't even like text it.
Wow.
And then I went to sleep, and yeah, and everything was good after that. But it was just like, oh my gosh, yeah. So that was my experience.
No, well, thank you. Wow. I was hanging on to every word. Yeah, that's amazing. I'm sure it'll help others because, like we said in the beginning, um, for those that want to know how to connect, obviously. So let me ask you, have you still been channeling since now that the medicine has shown you that you can? Have you still been channeling now without it? Or what has changed since you did it?
Yeah, I think I do. There's times when I can notice it happening. Um, it like the way I would describe it is it feels a little hazy, like there's something in front of me or something, or like I'm stepped back, like there's something there. And sometimes you can usually tell when I'm channeling because I'll use words and metaphors that I don't normally use.
Mm,
That's typically the way I know. And like sometimes I think I did recently post a video where like some information was coming through, and I hadn't done that in a while. And then I ended up sharing it with the guy I'm dating because I've told him that I channel, but I don't think he really knows what that means.
yeah.
So when I posted this video, I was like, here's an opportunity for me to show him. And I was kind of like, I was a little nervous about it because I was like, I don't know how he's going to take this. but I was like, this is an example of like what I say, what I mean when I say I'm channeling. I was like, this is like information that may not be relevant to me, but it feels like I need to share it because somebody needs to hear it.
Mm,
I was like, and the way I know I'm channeling is because I'm using words or metaphors that I don't typically use. And so I think in that video, I said something like the word revamp was coming to me. Like I don't use that word in a regular conversation. And so,
oh,
things like that. So that's typically how I know. So I would say, I wouldn't say it's gotten like, it's not like it's gotten stronger or I do it more frequently. But what I will say compared to like the first ceremony is I've gotten more comfortable identifying that, or like, I would say identifying with the fact that that's what I do.
mm,
Like in the first ceremony, like I think I had shared with you the next day when we were talking as a group, and I described how I was able to connect. A lot of people were shocked and they like couldn't believe, the medicine had spoken to me even before I drank it, things like that. Like they were just like, what? And my friend was like, she's a channel. And I just remember being like, what? Like, like I was just like, what are you talking about? But now, yeah, like if somebody had said it, like I would agree. I would be like, yeah, like I do channel or like I can connect. But yeah, so I
yeah,
just I think it's I've accepted it more is what I'll say.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, no, it's and thank you for sharing that. Yeah, it's beautiful to see. I don't know how if it was last week or what, but we did a little psychic circle and we channeled and for me one of the things that came through was like that. Everyone has always talked about this shift happening or this shift was coming or all this and that, but it was like what they were telling me was that like there's no stopping it now. So it's like it's happening now like there's no. Or it
Hmm.
was like, or people always think of like the earth splitting in two, right? Like almost like a new earth forming while the old one kind of, and whoever chooses to stay here, chooses
Hmm.
to stay here, and whoever goes, goes. But, even those that have or had a responsibility in this lifetime or something, it's like, I feel like what they were telling me was that, like, yeah, people are going to start waking up, even if, they were taking their time, sweet little time with it, like the shift is happening
Hmm.
and that's it. Like,
Yep.
yeah, there's no sugarcoating, nothing. Like, so it's beautiful, um, to see people having these experiences. And yeah, it makes me really happy to hear about that, right? So yeah, that's it. That's all I really gotta say. It's so thank you. I'm really honored to have you share that with me. And so yeah, I'm excited to see when you start healing others, like just by touch and all that good stuff. So let me know when you start doing that too.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll get a call. You'll be like, I can't believe what this is happening. Like I'll be freaked out.
Absolutely. So just anybody that I don't know if anyone's tuned in right now, but of course, you're doing the somatic, healing with the sound bath, Mobile, Alabama. So if anyone's in the area or if you know someone in the area, make sure to share it, right?
Hmm.
Those spaces create a lot of healing for people, community wise as well. We talked about that on the IG live, right? How important it is. These are gonna be the things that help people heal, right? Community is gonna it. I mean, it's always been, but now that people are becoming more aware and being in the right community is gonna be detrimental to helping others heal, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's really good because, yeah, like you're saying, if people are starting to awaken, then these are the spaces that they're probably going to want to be in for security or to learn. There's like opportunity for mentorship or, like I said, just learning. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Because other things haven't slowed down, right? Like the other way of what the way they tell us that we need to heal, right? And as food sources continue to get more polluted, right? As they keep engineering the food we eat and all this and that, the places that you're gonna find out the knowledge to how to eat properly or just heal, right? I mean, sometimes we're not gonna have access to the foods we should be eating, so these kind of spaces, not that it completely, counters,
Mm-hmm.
but it definitely helps, right?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
So all that good stuff. Okay, so I won't take up any more of your time. Thank you once again for sharing. Um, I guess if there's a website or something to the event that you guys are doing, I'll put it in the description as well. So
Yeah, good point. The tickets are
it's
Eventbrite.
uh-huh.
You can just type in just the title of it, somatic movement or sound bath, and it'll pop up. But I'll give you the link too.
Yeah, and I'll put it in the description. So thank you once again. I'll put a link to your first ayahuasca journey that you shared as well, and all the other ones. I guess there'll be like links to like 6, 7, videos that we've done. So yeah. So thanks again, Debbie. Thank you to anybody that tuned in. Share in the comments if you've had a similar experience with the any plant medicines, right, and all that stuff. I'd love to hear about it. And yeah, on that note, we'll end there. Thank you.